came to the other side today because that was better. That other side after last game, I didn't like it. So now we're on the other side of the castle. So much better over here. It's really not. It's exactly the same. As it turns out, they're mirrored. However, that was better. That was better. At least, well, the last 40 minutes were a lot better. The first 20 minutes were concerning yet again. I think there is definitely a recipe for both teams' success in this series. We have seen it for 80 minutes for the Jets and for 40 minutes for the Golden Knights. And fortunately for Vegas, their 40 were a lot stronger than the 20 that the Jets got in this game. So they end up coming out of there finding a way to get this win. There's a lot to talk about in this game. I think we probably want to start with kind of just the speed of the game picking up in Vegas's favor. There were kind of dissenting opinions in the post-game press conferences as to what caused that. I felt like it was more Vegas doing the right things, starting to really pressure them a little bit more, get on top of them, force some of these passes to be a little bit off kilter, and then really just get going downhill into the zone, spending a lot more time in the zone. I thought Vegas played a lot faster when they were entering the zone, when they were forechecking, when they were making those plays, and they did have those moments. I actually look back to like the first, I don't know, what was it, 4, 5, 6 minutes of game one. And I felt like stick checks and speed was there for Vegas. It kind of then fell off. And then you think about the beginning of this game, it was really bad. I think it was like 11-2 at one point in shots. And really, it was starting to look like it was heading that way again. And clearly, that's the style that this team wants to play against the Golden Knights. The flip side of it is once Vegas really got engaged in the game. And like, I know that a lot of the attention is probably going to go on to kind of the madness that occurred at the end of the first period. And it's, to me, like causation without correlation or whatever you want, however the phrase of that goes. I don't think that's what woke Vegas up. I think what woke Vegas up was that shift. And it's possible I might write an entire article about that one shift. It's a shift where the Golden Knights are dominating in the offensive zone. They're holding the puck in, and the Jets have it down, have their defensemen out there for over 2 minutes. Then you end up with a stick battle right out in front of the goal. And Carlson comes in and to use a football term, scoop and score, picks it up, zips it top corner. And it's the first of many goals tonight that's it. Thank you, Chris. It's the first of many goals tonight that's unsavable by even the best goalie. And that's a huge part of what I liked about what the Golden Knights did today, was not only were they generating good opportunities, they're generating opportunities from dangerous places, doing it with the work before it. That's the biggest part to me in this game. It was the work before the goals that was making things happen. It was the decision making, the speed of the game, the just so much better down the stretch of the second period and then into the third. And really, there was a little bit of time in that third where, like, right after the goal, I thought the Jets got going a little bit more. I thought there was a good, well-timed TV timeout there, like right at the 14-minute mark, that I think kind of went Vegas's way a little bit, that it was maybe heading back the other way. But the biggest part of it is, if you look at this game compared to the last game, it's the speed of the game. Winnipeg wants to slow this game down. Rick Bowness said today, we slowed down and we made them look faster, is basically what he said. His point was their execution wasn't at the level that it was in game one. And I do agree with him to a certain level, that it is accurate that they were not as buttoned up maybe as they were in game one. A lot of dropped passes, pucks and skates, that type of thing. But I think that's not giving even close to enough credit to Vegas for causing that to be the case. The part that I thought jumped off the page today was Vegas's lines kept coming. It kept turning over. Next line was better than the next line was better than the next line. And that's why we end up with all of the lines, or at least all of the players on each of the lines, getting involved outside of the fourth line, who was fine. I think that you're noticing now why we don't see a lot of depth scoring in the postseason from the fourth line from Vegas is because they don't play a lot, and they're not going to play a lot. He's going to use Mark Stone 23 minutes, and he's going to use Keegan Kolesar 7. That's just the way it's going to go. So to me, we don't really need to focus too much on that. But what we were seeing is that when Kessel and Smith had a good shift, they would then turn it over, and that's where Stone, Stevenson, and it ended up being Howden would start to pick it up, right? That's where it was Howden, and then Amadio was still up on that first line. Like, that's what we started to see, where that was causing the problems for the Jets. That was causing them to have more and more issues and start to see their game break down, that the passes coming out aren't as clean. They're trying these stretch passes and they end up with icing. There's the one Morrissey play right before the goal that basically wins the game, the Stevenson poke in, where he's kind of skating around in his own zone, going for a skate, loses a guy, and then looks up and there's just nowhere to go with it. So he chips it off the wall. It takes a goofy hop, hops up over the boards, and now Vegas has an offensive zone draw on something that they should, and over the course of most of this series up to that moment, and I guess it's a game and a half up to that moment, game in 2 periods, that has been able to go, their way, where they've had someone coming out. The next thing is a specific position. I think Jason's writing about it for tomorrow, but I will talk about it now. But first, I will tell you that all Periscopes after postseason games and all season long this year are presented by Conler and Associates CPAs. Tax day was 2 days ago, so you missed it if you didn't file your taxes, but that's okay. Conler CPAs can help you. If you go to conlercpa.com, tell them SinBin sent you. They'll hook you up with a free consultation. They can get you an extension. They can help you with your taxes for next year. And trust me, I've done this before because Conler's been with me for quite a while now, that I've had them help me early on, and it's way better. It's so much better when you get to the tax day and you're like, wow, this is not that bad. As opposed to what I used to do for the first multiple years. And I said, oh my God, this is going to be horrible. And there's receipts and credit card stuff and all that good stuff. Let them help you. They're way better at it than you. Well, unless you're also a tax professional. But even then, I bet you they're just as good, if not better than you. Conlercpa.com, KONDLERCPA.com. Centers is the position I want to talk about. I thought in game 1, the Golden Knights got destroyed down the middle of the ice, across the board. Maybe not Kevin Stenlund and Mutz. And then, of course, Kevin Stenlund scored today. But let's ignore that one, because I think that one was a fluke. And when we talk about, I say it all the time, repeatable goals that can continue happening. That one's not. Braden McNabb's not going to trip over his own feet heading back on a fourth line rush. That's not even really a rush. There's nothing there. He's probably just going to destroy the guy. He trips over his own feet or something happened. I don't know. And Kevin Stenlund ends up scoring. The game's tied. Whatever. Don't worry about that one. The center position, Pierre-Luc Dubois dominated that game in game 1. He was fantastic. All over the Golden Knights, generating opportunities for Connor and Scheifele, dominating them. Adam Lowry consistently was locking down Mark Stone in whatever group he was going up against. He was doing that, and I guess for most part it's Stevenson, whatever. You get my point. That line, they were very good down the middle. Nemesnikov was terrific defensively in game 1. Today, Vegas flipped the script. Best player on the ice for me, without question, William Karlsson. He was spectacular. Gets the big goal to start it off, tie the game up early, ends up making the play that helps on the 4th goal. He was, or maybe it was the 5th goal, I don't know, whatever. He was terrific in this game, all over the place. And the thing that you'll notice as these series go on is that guys get more and more tired. We see more and more minutes being put on the big-time players. William Karlsson never breaks down. He never gets tired. He's constantly doing the right types of things in the right place. Stick checking is always strong. He's never out of a play, so he's always back checking as hard as he possibly can, and that tends to lead to the rest of their game getting much better offensively. We absolutely saw that today. I thought that was, to me, like, I don't even think it's debatable who was the best player on the ice all game. I thought he was one of the best players on the ice in the last game. I think he was terrific yet again. And that is what's really going to be important moving forward, because once Nick Ehlers goes back into this team, all of a sudden they go from what is basically a 1.5 line team to a 3 line team. And I think that's going to happen. I think they were waiting for a loss. Once we get to that point, you're going to see more matchups that are going to be more and more difficult on Stone, Stevenson, and then Eichel and Marchessault, and whoever ends up on each of their wings as we move forward through this series. William Karlsson's impact is going to have to continue to be high. And I think what's great about William Karlsson is that he has now proven that with Riley Smith, they do not need Jonathan Marchessault next to them. They do not need an elite player next to them. And you can, in many ways, throw different players up there. I'm waiting for the moment where Barbashev ends up on that line. I think it's going to happen by the end of whether it's this playoff series or if we go even further. I think we are going to get that at some point. I think we're going to see them help defend, help move the game along, help getting the speed back into the Golden Knights game that was not there for a good portion. If you think about game one, the only goal that was scored, it's speed. It's Marchessault hitting Barbashev, then Karlsson up the middle. They get the goal. Today, he comes up with a big time play. But again, it's the work before the play that makes a lot of that happen, where they're able to force the opposing team to be on the ice for an extended period of time. It broke down their shift length. And not only did it create that first goal, but from that moment forward, that was a team that was rolling four lines, consistently putting pressure on the Golden Knights, consistently playing that style of game that's a gummed up neutral zone and slows Vegas down. And all of a sudden, once that goal comes in, now they have a shift, now they have a line where they haven't been out there, or they were out there for way too long. They can't go anytime soon. Now all of a sudden it trickles down to everybody's kind of behind the eight ball, and that's when Vegas really starts ramping it up. Unfortunately, you look at period two, Vegas was fantastic. They end up only winning that period by one goal. It's the same thing as period one, where they were not very good, and they end up only winning it or losing it by one goal. And then the third period, the results were even better, even though I didn't think it was as good in regards to how the process of play was going. And to me, the third period is built on how they played in the second period. That was important to me. Special teams remains a huge problem. I think the penalty kill has been better. I don't think it's been great. And I'm interested to see if they're going to make any adjustments as we move forward, because I do feel like today, a couple of times, Winnipeg had good opportunities that they just did not create or did not execute on. And I thought Vegas's power play was a little bit behind in this one. Of course, it's important to note that, like, Stevenson's in the box one time, he's a penalty killer. Petrangelo's in the box one time, he's a penalty killer. I can't remember who the first penalty was on, but I want to say it was on a penalty killer as well. I can't remember, whatever. But not very good to me. Like, it wasn't horrible, but not great to me on the penalty kill. They end up getting a power play goal. It's now 2-0 in the series on power play goals. 1-0 if you're counting goals that actually count. They got theirs 5-1, whatever. The bigger part is the zero. The Golden Knights power play was a nightmare again. Disastrous. Like, not good. Not moving the puck quickly enough, not getting enough, not generating enough. The one opportunity they finally got, Stevenson rips it and Hellebuck makes an unbelievable save. If they scored one later and that was what it was, oh, hey, thank you. So no, it was not a penalty killer. But if you end up with generating more chances like that, we're all going to feel fine about it. That's not what happened. Today, it ends up being a lot of passes that it seems like the Jets know what's coming. And it's not horribly surprising because I know what's coming. And if I know what's coming, not shocking that Rick Bowness and the Jets and whoever their assistant coach that does their PK know how to do. But going back, they're going to have to start shooting more. Like, I think it's high slot. We saw it 2 times today. Pietrangelo rips a shot quickly, and they get once a tip for Michael, and the other one it's a rebound that's spilled out in front. And Stevenson pokes it back home. I think they need more of that on the power play. Theodore, again, I didn't think he didn't have a huge impact in this game yet again. I think they're going to get more out of him. But as this series shifts, we now start looking at the 2 recipes. Which recipe is going to come out to play in each particular game? And inside of that, who can stick with it longer? Because the good news is the way the Golden Knights recipe is setting up is they want to play fast. They want to get it going, push them back, keep the forecheck, keep the pressure on. And that should, as I think, they turned the numbers off. I think they had 38 shots or something like that. The numbers should ramp up. We should see lots and lots and lots of chances if the game is going Vegas's way. On the flip side, if the game is going the Jets' way, it can look like the first period. It can look like portions of yesterday or 2 nights ago's game where, yeah, Vegas is still in the game. It was a 1-goal game for a good portion, of that last game. Like basically all of what? It's 0-0 at the end of one. It's 2-0 quickly, and then they get it back to 2-1. Like it's right there the whole way. So there was always an opportunity for them to be in the game. Their style is slower. It's basically more of a clock management and puck management style. And I think that it's going to generate less offense. Now, it's important to note that's with the lineup they currently have. And I think so far, we haven't seen a lot of Morrissey doing much offensively. We haven't seen the best of Scheifele to this point, and they have not had Ehlers. So I think they have more to give. However, I think the Golden Knights are getting there to getting more out of Jack Eichel, getting more out of Mark Stone. Chandler Stevenson becomes a huge impact player inside of this game, something we have not seen for quite some time in his game. Basically, dating back to when he was named an all-star, we haven't quite seen him at this level. And for him to be there, and obviously Stone being paired up with him, all of a sudden, the Golden Knights have that depth. And that's where you look at the way that the lineup was set up in the first place, what Cassidy was going for in the first place, which was that he wanted to have that depth, which was going to free up Shea Theodore, free up Jack Eichel for the matchups that they were looking for. Once the Jets end up with their group that is more balanced, the one that kind of got them to this point where they won 5 of 6 home games and put themselves in a position where they're actually playing games here. Once that happened, that was done with them having 3 dangerous lines. Once Ehlers goes back in there, he's going to be a lot better. They're going to be a lot better. And that's where that style of game is going to have to go Vegas's way a lot more. We'll have to see. I will never grow a beard or a stash again. My beard is way too itchy. I cannot get the damn thing to stop itching. I did it the first year. I will never do it again. I've said this on many of these. I will continue saying it, and I will continue going through that. Yeah, I would assume Ehlers is going to play next game. I think they were waiting for a loss. I think they ended up making the decision in game 1 that he wasn't quite ready to go. And then by the end of, then you win and you played real well and the game went your way and you're like, all right, well, guess we don't need him. If anybody else has any other questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat there. I might get out of here once we get from that. I am flying out of here in 7 hours. Great. Up to San Fran and then to Vancouver and then over to Winnipeg. And again, shout out to Vegas Night and Day Heating and Air Conditioning for sponsoring all of our travel. VKDAC is the website, vkdac.com. Please check them out. You'll hear a lot more of them as we move forward, as I get up there. I'm going to try to do a Q&A inside of the airport from Vancouver tomorrow on Twitter Space. That will, of course, be presented by Vegas Night and Day Air Conditioning. Kessel looked pretty freaking good over the last month. If he wants to keep playing, do you bring him back at his current cap number? I think a lot of that has to do with how he does over the course of this particular series. Today, he didn't play a lot. He was basically in like the 7 or 8 minute range in the part of the game that mattered. He was at like 5 and change at the end of the second period, did not play a lot. I think that there's a reason for that, which is that they need to do more of Carlson and Smith in the defensive zone. When those two are in the defensive zone, we see a lot more out of like needing a player that's not Kessel to play in that situation. And they can go to a lot of different options. I think that's why his shifts end up getting limited a little bit more. And then I thought shift lengths were a little bit long for a number of guys today. Stone being probably the key of them, which it worked out on this day, or at least it worked out in the third period. Not entirely sure how much we want to rely on 24, 25 minutes of Mark Stone moving forward in the condition that we're in, and then understanding that we need him to last for 2 months if we're going to get the ultimate 16 goals here or 16 games here. Is Hill the backup moving forward? I would imagine. I think that was decided here today that all of a sudden he's the guy. Quick's up in the press box with us. I don't think it's horribly surprising. I don't think he's the automatic backup for good, because I think if Thompson ends up being in a position where he can play, then all of a sudden you're back in a better spot. One thing I do want to mention is Carrier. If the Golden Knights were to get Carrier back at some point in this series, I'm interested to see where he would go, because all of a sudden you've got Howden, in the spot that he was in, playing with Stone and Stevenson. That'd be a nice spot for Carrier. And that would potentially move Howden back down to playing a little bit less. I think they'd rather have that. I think that's an interesting option if they can get him back out there. Of course, he did not practice in morning skate today. He was not out there in practice yesterday. It's possible that he was with the Black Aces that are skating at a time that we're unable to see, so we will see. Yeah, of course, face-off percentage, we can make a big deal about that. I mean, I think that, like, 2 of the goals obviously are scored off of face-offs today. To me, it's very clear. The Golden Knights defensively did not check hard enough off of the face-off loss, and the loss was basically, it's just a puck battle. You lose puck battles, you're going to lose opportunities. They're going to score goals off you. That's what happened in that particular play. It's a puck battle below underneath the face-off. I don't even think it's really lost face-off. They just lost the puck battle afterwards, and then they don't recover out quickly enough to get the body or stick or tie up the stick of Lowry, and it ends up with a goal. And possibly would have been a goal either way because they had 2 layers there. They like to do that on their power play. And of course, it's important to note that power play face-offs probably do have a little bit more validity to you need to win some of those. The other one, to me, it's a breakdown. It's a defensive breakdown that we really haven't seen much from the Jets in this series. And again, I think it's more so the pressure that the Golden Knights started to put on the Jets, and you started to see the Jets making mistakes in their own zone, passes not coming out as cleanly, stretch passes going for icing, chip outs not going necessarily far enough or too far or whatever. They were not as crisp coming out of the zone. And I think what ended up happening is that bleeds into confidence and the decision making of which type of play you're going to make. I think that is certainly why we end up with a draw win. And all of a sudden, from that moment, the Golden Knights end up in a much better position to win that play. They lose the guy in front. They lose the pass. Like, they were a mess on that play. There should never be a moment where a guy skates through the middle and just taps the puck into a wide open goal. If that happened against the Golden Knights, we'd be freaking out about it. It didn't. So, yeah, no Grand Forks this time. I guess it's possible that we might have to do Grand Forks or Fargo on the next one. So we'll see. I think that's all I've got for tonight. I am on the flight up to Winnipeg tomorrow, and I'm going to try, depending on if the flights all land on time, we're going to try to do a Twitter space. It should be somewhere between, I think my flight is at 3, so we should be somewhere between 11 and 3 that we will do that. And we will, I'll make sure that people know that that's going on once we get to that point. Other than that, again, so much better in regards to getting to the style of play the Golden Knights wanted. They're going to create issues for the other team. If they can do that, the Jets are going to have their moments where they're going to crumble. They are not an elite team defensively, but they can be if you make life easier on them. The Golden Knights did that through the first 80 games, and then 80 minutes of the series. The Golden Knights did it much better in the final 40. Yeah, we got to figure out what we're going to do with the sandwich. I'm excited about the illegal curve sandwich from the deli up there. I'm also excited about Wiener Peg. I think I'm going to buy a shirt and maybe give it away. I don't know. I got to figure out how to do that because buying shirts and giving them away is tricky because there's all different sizes. The castle appears to be coming down around me for now, so I need to get out of here. That's it. Good night. Thanks again to ConlerCPA.com for hooking us up for every single Periscope, sponsoring all of these. We will continue doing them after every single game. I'm going to have to figure out where to do it in the Winnipeg Jets Arena, Canada Life Center. We'll figure it out. I don't know. See ya.